Are you an academic editor or coach who's struggling to show up online without feeling salesy? You're not alone, and today's guest has a solution. Jennifer Van Alstyne, founder of The Academic Designer, helps faculty and researchers around the world craft powerful online presences, from strategic websites to clarity on social media. In this episode, we talk about how Jennifer turned an unexpected opportunity in grad school into a thriving business, why most academics are making their bios way too boring, and how a well-crafted website can actually free up your time while attracting the right people. This conversation is packed with actionable insights. We cover the number one place to start if you're building your own website, what most faculty websites are missing and how to fix it, the shift from chasing engagement to creating deep connections, and how to think about testimonials even if you're just starting out. If you've been considering launching an editing or coaching business, or you already have one and want to grow, this episode will give you mindset and strategy tools to move forward. Now, here's my interview with Jennifer. Welcome to Leaving Academia, Becoming a Freelance Editor, the podcast. I'm your host, Paulina Cossette. In 2019, I was a political science professor who was fed up with the stress and hostility of academia, not to mention the low pay. I left my tenure-track job and went from barely surviving to thriving as a freelance academic editor. Today, I own Acadia Editing Services, an editing and coaching business that brings in 6 figures a year. In this podcast, I'll discuss the challenges of academia, what academic editing involves, and what life as a freelancer looks like. If you're willing to jump outside your comfort zone, it is possible to find joy, true flexibility, and a profitable and rewarding career as an academic editor. Thanks for listening. Welcome, Jennifer. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do now, and then we can sort of backtrack and you can tell us how you got the idea for the business.
That sounds great. So, hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Van Alstyne. My company, The Academic Designer, works with faculty and researchers all over the world to help them have a stronger online presence, because there are so many things that make up your online presence already. Like, if you Google yourself, you're going to see things that you didn't create, right? Like maybe a mention in your university newsletter or in a local newspaper. There's so many options for how you might show up online, but we can also be more intentional about that, especially when you're thinking about having a business or a side hustle. So I help faculty with websites, social media, bio writing, things that help them be more intentional about how they show up when it comes to their online presence.
That's awesome. I love that so much. And I love that you work not just with, faculty as faculty, but also the folks who are starting businesses on the side, which we can get to. But let's go back and talk to us about what was your academic background and how did you get the idea for this business?
Oh, good question. So I have my background is in English and creative writing. I have my bachelor's in English. I got my Master of Fine Arts in writing and poetics. And then I moved to Louisiana when my husband was finishing up. He was working on a PhD. During that time, I actually had a really hard time finding work. People in Louisiana were kind of like, oh, you're not from here. You don't look like us. Honestly, we don't think you'll stick around. Like, that's what I got in interviews. Like, we don't think that you'll be here in a year. So we're not going to hire you. When the university was like, we would love to have you come be, a graduate fellow and, teach some classes and, do some more learning. I was like, hey, sign me up. So I went back into grad school, not really thinking about staying in the professoriate. Like, I really didn't have that in mind when I was applying. Once I got there, I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to go down this route, I'm going to stay in academia. I thought that I was going to go all the way. But what happened was I got a graduate assistantship my second year of my master's. I had finished up the fellowship portion. And so I was teaching more classes the second year. And the director kind of approached me and was like, hey, we're looking looking for someone to help run this professional development team. We're launching it. We want to communicate better about the English department on social media and on our website. Do you know anyone who would be a good fit for this? And I was like, I know I only have one semester left, but sign me up, because this is something that I'm really good at. And also I kind of want that course release. Like I wasn't getting my online course that I had designed for British literature. They had decided that they didn't want to have the oldest section of British literature taught online. They didn't think that students would be able to connect with the material as deeply online. And I knew that was not the case. Like, I designed an amazing course for that now the whole university uses. But at that time, that semester, they were like, no. So I took this position instead and loved it. I loved getting to help faculty better communicate who they were online. I loved mentioning all the programs and the activities that the department created, but didn't appear anywhere on their website. And so it was really my work during the one semester in which I was really engaged with how to communicate for the department that I realized what I really enjoyed doing was working closely with faculty on their bios, on their faculty profile. If I could get it up, if I could get them focused enough, we could change their online presence together on the university website in ways that could help their real lives. Now, when I was going into my graduation ceremony, I was nominated for like this award in my school. And as part of that, they had us meet the whole alumni, committee. They were trying to decide who was going to win. I went into that meeting and I told them I am forming my LLC. I have the paperwork ready to go, and it's being handed in like essentially the day after graduation. I did not think that I was going to have my business long term. Like, it's been almost 7 years now, but I did not think that this was going to be a long-term business for me. Honestly, I thought that I was going to do maybe academic websites for a year and then look for more full-time work in different locations once Matthew finishes PhD. That didn't happen. I really fell in love with my business. Like, I fell in love with the work that I was doing and really could picture the long-term impact of the work that I was doing with each individual client in ways that made me curious, in ways that made me expansive in terms of how I was approaching my business. I didn't corner hole myself in what other website designers might do or what someone else that has a business might do. I really tried to find my own path. And 7 years later, I'm so glad I did.
I love that. I love that you you tried something while you were in grad school, just to do it, trying out these websites. And when I was in grad school too, our department website was terrible, and I volunteered to work on it. And I figured I got like the university templates, and I had to get the bios from all the faculty, just like you were describing. And so credit to you, because it's not easy to get faculty to do those kinds of things. I think they don't understand the importance of they're focused on their teaching and their research, and they're not thinking about, why do I have to send this grad student a bio? It's the last thing they want to be bothered with.
But not only that, it can feel self-promotional. It can feel like, oh, that's time that's about me. And like my time as a professor is focused on my students or on my research or on something else. So not only is it like maybe not important, sometimes when you know it's important, it's harder because like you don't want to think about yourself too. So I ran into that problem a lot.
Yeah, and it's great that you discovered an excitement and a fulfillment for this kind of creative type work, and that you're able to get that. Because I think also a lot of faculty think that the only rewarding career is to be a professor, but yet there are so many other jobs out there where we can work with people one-on-one in a group setting, whatever, and contribute to their lives in a meaningful way. And that can be really fulfilling as well. And it doesn't just have to be, being a teacher or being a professor. So as you were starting up the business, how did you start to attract clients to you? Did you reach out to faculty? Did you use your network? How did you, get the ball rolling on bringing clients in?
That's a good question because I was really bad at it. Like I was really bad at getting clients in the beginning in the sense that I was both scared to reach out to people and scared to talk about what I was doing in a direct way. Like, hey, I actually help people make websites. Like I didn't say that. When I look back at like my old social media posts and when I went back to revise like early blog posts, I really realized that I was almost hiding in educational resources in the sense that like I can help you, but also once you get here, you're not going to be sold to in any kind of way. If you happen to find that I offer services, then we can work together. I was hiding myself because I was anxious about selling to people online, which is kind of funny because when I was in grad school, I was like really good at retail because I was so good at connecting with people in the fitting room and making sure that they were happy and felt like themselves. And like, so it's not like selling was hard for me, but being open that I'm the person who is like providing the service, that was hard. So yeah, I didn't do it well in the beginning. But what I learned over time was that being more direct isn't a bad thing. Like being more open about how I help people is helpful for people, and people actually thank me when I do it now. I've had so many sales calls where a professor has hopped on the call and they said, the only reason I'm here is because I saw, your social media post and it changed my mind. It opened me up to like, oh, I can do this. So sometimes that transformation for your potential client, it only takes a moment, right? Like maybe it's just reading something as short as a social media post, but that change for them won't happen if the social media post or the blog post or whatever you're creating doesn't exist. If they're not having that opportunity to find you in their day, that moment of transformation for them might not happen. And we don't want that. So I hope that if you're listening to this and you're like me at the beginning, you're like, okay, I haven't been saying anything about how I can help people. I hope that you try to experiment with something new. Try experimenting with a different way of talking about your business because that experimentation really helped me.
That is such a powerful statement, and thank you for saying that. Because in my program, Becoming an Academic Editor, I work with current or former faculty or people maybe who got their PhD but didn't want to go into academia, and I show them kind of how to start an editing or coaching business. And of course, part of that is creating a website and, learning to post on social media and those kinds of things. And there is always such resistance to the social media posts. Like they'll work on their LinkedIn bio and they'll spruce it up a little bit, but asking them to make a post is like, what? I can't do that. Like the terror, you can see the terror in their eyes. And I don't say that, to make them feel bad because I get it. I mean, just like you said, your initial posts were horrible. Mine were too. Mine are still horrible and I'm still trying to figure it out. But like, there's something about, I don't know if they're afraid of rejection or if they're afraid of being salesy or whatever the challenge is. But I had a community member, she's in my January cohort this week. I encouraged her. I said, make a post on LinkedIn because she already has a Substack, which is fantastic. And she writes about her experience getting her PhD. And I said, just make a post about your latest Substack article. And she did. And I think she said it's been liked like over 60 times or something. It's gotten more than 60 likes. 10 people have sent her connection requests as a result of the post. I was like, that's blown any of my posts out of the water. Like, I don't ever get a reaction like that. So it does. And I love what you said, that it just takes a minute for people to read something and some kind of shift that they go through in this, either having no idea that you existed or that, this was a thing that they could do, is work with you on websites, or the shift in the belief in themselves or whatever it is really can happen in just one post. So that's awesome. Yeah.
Could I add something to that? I just wanted to say that shift that we were just talking about, like, it doesn't always happen in a way that you can see, right? Like, I remember when I was starting out on social media, I had all this social media training, certified social media manager and strategist, and engagement was really important at that time. You want likes, you want clicks, you want people to actually view your post and engage with it, whether they're commenting or not. Over time, that kind of chasing of numbers has actually gone away for me and also in how I teach my clients. It's really hard to track deep engagements. And when I say deep engagements, I mean like that internal shift that happens within ourselves that says, oh, yes, we can do this thing, or I'm open to that idea. That shift often is internal, and we're not going to see it in likes. We're not going to see it in the numbers. We may not see it in link clicks, but it doesn't mean that it's not happening. So you may actually notice that when you shift to being more direct and to being more open about these offers, that your engagement might actually go down a little bit. But that could be because you're getting these deeper, more internal engagements. The people who actually work with me often have never engaged with my social media posts at all in any kind of visible way. But that doesn't mean that they haven't been affected by it. It doesn't mean that they haven't been touched by something that I've created or shared. So I just wanted to mention that too.
Yeah, no, I think that's another great point is we get caught up in like the validation of the likes or the shares or whatever, or the views. And I think that, there are posts like memes or anything that's funny that gets shared a lot and liked a lot, but it doesn't necessarily mean that people are converting, right? Just because somebody likes your post doesn't mean they're going to hire you. They just think it's funny and they share it with their friend or whatever because it's funny. But on the other hand, as you're saying, people maybe don't like it, or they don't click like, and but inside their mind, they're thinking about it and processing it and then sending you an email.
Right.
So what else did your marketing look like, or how has it changed over time? Are you primarily on social media? Do you send DMs to people? What else are you doing or have you done in the past to bring in clients?
That's a good question. I am pretty like 100% inbound marketing in the sense that I don't think I've reached out to a potential client in probably like at least 5 years, like four or 5 years. And I say that in the sense that like I have not sent a private LinkedIn message to someone or an email to say I'd love to work with you. And I'm not saying anything against that. I know that that is effective for some of my friends who are also in the consulting space. For me, I really leaned into creating content. So I have the social academic blog has been going on since I started in 2018. And that is grown more than I expected it to. I think when I started writing blog posts, I was like, oh, maybe I'll do, like a dozen blog posts and they'll be kind of informative articles. Since then, I started an interview series and a best personal academic websites contest. Just like as new ideas come, I'll add it in. And if I'm adding something, if I'm creating something, I want it to be accessible long term. And so I put it on the website. Like the website ends up being a home for like all of the things that I'm creating. And the creation hasn't been super linear. Like I will post when I have an idea. I don't post on a regular monthly basis. And yeah, I don't get as many subscribers because of that, but I have a ton of readers. I have a ton of viewers. Most people find me through SEO, search engine optimization. They find me through those things that I've created on my website. My business coach would call it a content bank, something that I've created over time in order to help people with the content that I've created. So I love my blog. The podcast came after it as a way to make the blog more accessible. And then I ran into issues with that where I would want to update the blog post, but the podcast episode couldn't really be updated to like, it was like tripling the amount of work that I was doing when I updated the blog post. So pretty much stopped doing like solo podcast episodes. They're mostly just the interview series now because I like to go back and update things so often. I don't do solo episodes for the podcast anymore, but it's just been an amazing journey to create things and have people from all around the world engage with them and share them. And Also, that engagement I don't always see in the numbers, but I see it when universities have like added me to their resources section, maybe on their private e-campus or in Canvas or something. And those people, they find me years later, years after I created some of these things. So that's mostly how I found people is creating content that helps them find me. And then referrals from my existing clients who love working with me, and then they share me with all their friends. So I love it.
Yeah, I found running a blog to be really helpful too, because an Instagram post, it's still there technically, but nobody's like scrolling down your Instagram profile to go back 3 or 5 years to see what you posted back then. Whereas the blog post, especially if you can get the keywords or the question or the topic right, people will Google that for years to come and will continue to get it. And I think I have one that's like about how to work with an editor or how to turn your dissertation into a book. And I shared it on Reddit. And that has gotten a ton of traffic. And I mean, just not like thousands of people, but just a steady drip. Every week or so, somebody messages me and wants to work with me because they read that blog post or saw it on Reddit or whatever. So
nice.
Yeah, really minimal effort considering the payoff that I think you get over many years. So what does it look like when you work with your clients? What are some of the problems they come to you looking? I didn't word that correctly, but what do they need help with when they come to you, and how do you help them?
That's a great question. So most people come to me because they want a stronger online presence and they don't have time to do it themselves. They don't have the capacity to make their own website, and that's okay. You don't have to work with me. You can work with a local website designer, but oftentimes people come because they're looking for someone that has that background in helping academics specifically. Oftentimes when they go to other website designers, they're like, oh yeah, they were like, give me all of the materials and I'll put it up on the website, and tell me what you want and I'll make it. But oftentimes people don't know what they want. They don't always know what they need. And so when I'm working with professors, we're really talking about who their audience is, what hope or for transformation they can have potential for on the website, and then actually talking through all of the resources and writing and materials that we could put on the website together. So that could be short, as in like my VIP Day website service, where we're working together really in depth for like a day to transform your website. But a lot of my clients love my more in-depth strategic website plan. It's closer to 3 to 6 months, where we're really working in depth to ensure that every part of your website looks like you, feels like you, and is really going to help the people we create it for. People sometimes think about websites as self-promotional, but for professors, for academics, for coaches, for editors, this is really about creating a space where we can help more people by not having to do it personally ourselves, in the sense that I don't need to be with you in person at that moment for you to be able to learn about how we could work together, or to find resources I've created to help you do it yourself. The website is transformational because it actually helps how we communicate with people in real life, not just in the interwebs.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're basically providing a range of services for people to fit a range of budgets. Like, it sounds like you've got everything from your free content for people who just need to do it themselves to all the way up to what sounds like a done-for-you service, where you're working very closely with them one-on-one and putting it all together for them because they just don't have the time. So why would a professor usually want the website? Is it just like to post their syllabi, or maybe they're promoting a book, or what is the reason that they would take the money, frankly, to spend on improving this instead of just using like their university template?
It's different. It's different for everyone, but that's actually a really good question because a client that I just finished up a VIP day for, he wanted a really minimalist, almost CV looking website. And when I say that, it's to contrast everyone else that I've ever worked with who wanted something colorful and engaging with a bunch of pages. This guy just wanted what looks like almost like a CV, like very simple links to his articles, clean, could easily be done in a university template, could be done in a free website builder like Alstyne, which I love. But he wanted something that could have categories so that when you clicked on, I don't want to give away what field he's in, but when you clicked on a topic of his research, you could actually see all of the articles that were just in that section. That is the functionality that this professor cared about. But the functionality that you care about is going to be different. It's different for everybody. So some professors that I've worked with, they're really working with a community engaged research, community participatory research. They need people beyond the academy to be able to engage with and understand what they're doing. Some of the people I work with are doing speaking engagements or consulting. Maybe they're doing editing like you are, and they want to be able to offer their services at the same time as sharing their professional identities as a professor. These are all possible, but they're not possible if we're not intentional about how we want the structure of the website to be, who we want to help with the website. And so I really think that paying for support with this really helps you think through that process of how we're going to get there, because honestly, it's hard to put energy into everything. It's hard to put energy into the introspection, into the writing, into gathering of materials like photos or videos or resources that are downloadable. There's so many things that could go on a website that if you're thinking about all of it yourself, oftentimes we miss things. And that's not a bad thing. Like, your website's going to be great if you do it yourself, but it could be better if you do it with a partner. It could be better if you're working with someone outside of your brain to actually be a sounding board and to be creative with you and to have ideas. So professors come to me because they want a website, but oftentimes the thing that they are surprised about, or the thing that really makes this exciting and worthwhile to them, it happens before the website exists. It actually happens during our interviews, when we're talking about their research, when we're talking about their students, when we're talking about the people they want to help. There's something about those conversations that is transformational, because opening yourself to the idea of having a website, actually having a website, it's hard. It's hard on its own. It's like hard on its own before we bring other people into it. And when we bring other people into it, it can really make it meaningful. It can really make it help us make decisions, like make decisions about what we're doing with our time, how we're prioritizing things, who we want to work with, and how we want to help them. And so, yeah, I love that experience that we get before the website is actually even in existence, or before we started to redesign it, because it really is introspection that is clarifying. It gives people clarity into themselves, into who they want to help and why.
Yeah, what I'm hearing you say is really you're taking professors into the 21st century in terms of how they represent themselves, right? Because even though I have my own business and I have a website and I think of how to market in those terms for a business, I still associate professors with what websites were when I was a grad student, or even when I was a professor, which is like your bio and your CV and links to your articles, and that's about it, right? Maybe you throw some syllabi up there or something. But what I'm hearing you say is that professors have, either by choice or by being voluntold to do these things, they have created more expansive roles. And like you said, being involved in the community. Maybe they lead a research group that's like an international research group, or maybe they're a PI of a science lab and they have lots of people under them, or they do service activities, volunteering. I know my husband works in medical research. And so there's like high school students who will come and participate in their science lab. And or they have a book, or like you said, they do keynotes and stuff. It sounds like you are helping them create almost a personal brand that they, the website is the central home where they are able to share whatever those resources are with the world. And I love that you point out that by working with somebody like you, who this is your job, you're a professional and you have experience in it, you're going to think of a million things that they will never even think of, just because they don't live in this world of website design. And so, like you said, this one guy needed these specific categories for his research. Maybe that would help somebody else too, and they just won't think of it because they've never considered the different options. And I actually have a fantastic VA. Her name's Varushka, and she does that for me. She knows about working with influencers and doing all these things and stuff that I would never even consider. And just having like that additional brain working on a project with you, I think really amplifies the effect that you can have and really makes the end product so much better. So, what are sort of the first 2 or 3 pieces of advice that you give to clients when you are starting to work with them? So let's say you have, for our purposes, maybe an editor or a coach with an academic background. Maybe they're doing this as a side hustle. Maybe they're doing it, leaving academia as a new career. What would you suggest to them if they come to you and say, I need to make a website for my business or my side hustle? What should I be thinking about first?
I mean, the first question that I always ask people is like, is it something you're wanting to do yourself, or are you wanting to hire out? Because there are really big ranges in terms of budget for what you can get help with. I don't want people to go down the do-it-yourself route unless it's something you want to learn in terms of the skills you want to build for yourself. Because honestly, it's not always the best priority or use of your time. So that's always the first thing that I ask. Like, do you want to do it yourself? Because you don't have to. And then for people who do want to do it themselves, the best place I encourage everyone to start is your bio. And that sounds a little counterintuitive to some people because like you've written your bio, right? But a website bio is a little bit different. A website bio has opportunity to help people explore the rest of your website or to explore other resources or things you've created. So thinking about that bio as a document that really should adapt with you, that needs regular attention, that isn't static. It's something that can create that transformation for people in many spaces, not just on your website. I really encourage people to spend their energy and creative time on their bio first. That's not to say that things like a services page or, testimonials aren't going to enhance the website. They will. But what is really going to help people understand why you are the right person to work with is who you are. So thinking about how you're going to share yourself on your website. And I say that because oftentimes when people who are professors create a business, I've noticed that their business website sometimes doesn't have them on it at all. Like they just talk about the business or they just talk about the services. And I have seen websites where even your name is not findable. And so I really encourage you to think about how you are going to appear on the website, because that's why people are visiting. That's why people are going to remember you. So yeah, thinking about yourself first. That would be my number one place to start.
So, okay. So, and maybe this is something that I encourage the people in my community to do, is to sort of treat the creation or the drafting of your homepage as an exercise to think about your business, right? Especially when you're at the point where you're starting an editing business or a coaching business, you don't really know what shape it's going to take. You don't really know what niche you're going to place yourself into. I think a lot of people like to cast a really wide net because they don't want to scare clients away. And so it sounds like sitting down and taking this as an exercise of how to draft your bio in a way that speaks to this new venture that you're taking off in, whether it's, you've written this book and you're now promoting it, or you're going out and starting a new business. It sounds like maybe drafting that bio with this new lens is a good way for people to think about who they are in this new framework.
Yeah. And one thing that you mentioned about how people who are maybe starting their business tend to cast a wide net. I think it's okay to cast a wide net, but at the same time, try to be more specific in your language. If you can't be specific about how you're helping people, try to be specific about your process or how your approach is different from other people's. Like there's other ways where we can give people details that aren't limiting them. It's more about highlighting you. And so that's what I would encourage if you are feeling stuck in talking about your services in your bio. Think about your approach or your process or, who you want to help in the sense of, even emotions or personalities or there's different things that you can do than limit by subject or by topic.
Yeah, that's a great point. Something else we talk about is, of course, thinking about the potential client's pain points, and trying to speak very vividly and trying to evoke emotions so that they feel like you're inside their head, where you can speak to the struggles of trying to publish because you've been there, and it's not really just about cleaning up the commas and the language in the paper, for instance. It's about saving them time or, taking this off their plate so they can go spend time with their family or, whatever it is that they want to do besides staring at their computer screen. So what is after they think about the bio and who they are in this new life or this new vision that they're creating, what's something else that they should be thinking about as they create this website?
Creating ease for the people who are visiting to take the next step with you. That next step should be pretty specific. On my website, it's book a call with me. But if it's email or fill out this form, just make it really specific and make it in multiple places on your website so that they can see it. A lot of people who are starting out are worried about making offers. And so the idea of making more offers by having that button or that link in multiple places can feel a little bit like, oh, I don't think I need that. But err on the side of more. You can always remove things later. Everything is adaptable or changeable. This website that you're creating now is not going to be how your website looks forever. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in a good way, in the sense that as your services become more of a pathway for you to make decisions about your business, your website can facilitate that journey for other people to better understand how to work with you. So you can always have your website be a little bit closer to how you're delivering services now than it was when you created it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think business in particular is always evolving, and we're always, like you said earlier, we're always trying new things. And, if this doesn't work, we try something else. And so, yeah, your website is never going to stay the same forever. And it shouldn't, the world changes, right? Social media changes. We now have AI to think about, and just everything is constantly moving. And if you keep the website the same forever, it's going to be stale, right? It's not going to reflect the new messaging, the new things that your target audience needs from you. So we have first thinking about the bio, then we have a clear call to action. So we want to clearly state, okay, they've read everything. They like what they're reading. They like the idea of working with you. And so we want to be very clear about telling them what they should do next, because people don't want to have to think about this. They don't want to have to search your page for, the answer of how to get in touch with you. Nice, clear button saying email me or schedule a call, whatever, in multiple places down the page. What would you say is maybe the third thing that should be there or that people should consider?
Third thing would probably be testimonials and at least a short description of services or bullet point list. Like if you're really trying to get this page up now, like anything is better than nothing. But as you grow, you'll want to think about how to structure things. So let's say you have been in business for a little while and you've had some clients, they've given some testimonials, but everything's been, offline, or like it's been via email, nothing's been on a website before. Then you probably have some content and you're going to want to create two separate pages, one for services, one for testimonials. If you are a new business owner and you don't have the kind of content that would fill out two separate pages, it's also okay to create one page. So creating a space that is designed to help you sell services, whether it's a sales page, a testimonials page, or a series of pages that shares those things. That is kind of like the next thing that you might want to build out, because it's going to help people know whether you're a good person to work with or whether they need to look somewhere else. When you are casting a wide net with your services and you're not wanting to kind of limit anyone, that can make that page harder to write. So really thinking about, what are the things people should know about me? What are the things people should know that would prevent them from working with me or prevent them from moving forward with any editor right now? Thinking about those questions that they might have before they get on a call with you, before they send an email, anything that's going to help make that next step have more ease, that's going to be a good use of your time. And so that's going to look different for different people, but thinking about the sales on your page. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think that connects with what your previous point about how things are always changing, is that as you get further along in business, you're going to start to get the same questions over and over again. How do I send this to you? How quickly can you turn this around? What is the cost, right? All of those questions that seem to come up. And I think, like you're saying, if you can answer as many of those as possible in your services section, and of course, we don't want it to be an essay, right? But if you can sort of highlight that basic information that everybody asks about and needs to know, then I think it stops you from wasting time talking to people who aren't going to be able, who, if you're not in their budget, or if you're not really what they're looking for. And it ensures that any of those emails or calls that you get are more likely to lead to actually signing the client. And you also mentioned testimonials, which I love, because no big deal if you don't have any yet, but also don't be ashamed to ask for them, because people who are happy with your work can really enjoy giving the testimonial. And it just, I think, is a confidence boost or some kind of reassurance to those potential clients to know that you can be trusted, because other people, you're not just a scammer out there on the internet. Well,
can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Sorry. Just about testimonials, like they're hard to get. Like if you're a new business owner and you're like, well, I asked my clients for a testimonial and like I haven't heard back, like should I ask them again? The answer is yes. You could definitely ask again. I'm really bad at that. Like I'm really bad at following up when someone hasn't given me a testimonial, even if they've said that yes, I will do this. And so I just want to put out there that like it's okay to ask again, but it's also okay to ask for a different format. So some of my clients are like, okay, I know I should sit down and write this, but like I've written 30 recommendation letters this year. Like this is too much. Can we just hop on a quick Zoom call and record it? And the answer to that is yes. And like you don't have to record it and share the video. You could record it and then write down, like actually transcribe what they've said. There's different ways to get testimonials, and don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think if they are comfortable with you sharing the video, that's even better, right? Being able to hear somebody actually talk about it. But yeah, sometimes people will write me an email saying, "Oh, thank you so much for your work on this. It was so helpful. It saved me so much time." And I'll just reply and say, thank you for this. Would you mind if I use this quote either anonymously or with your name? And then they don't even really have to write anything extra. They've already sent it to you. And almost all the time they say, yes, absolutely. So
love that.
Yeah, definitely. Don't be scared to ask. So this has been super helpful. I think it really is going to give everybody a lot of ideas for how to start thinking about constructing their website. And so usually I ask people what's pieces of advice you'd have for people who are just starting out, but we sort of just talked about that.
Yeah.
So one last question I have for you is, you are fantastic on Instagram, and clearly, I mean, you said that you've gone in the direction of creating content, and it's clear that you're very good at it. You seem to like it. I, however, am on the other end of that extreme, and I don't like. I mean, I like blogging, but I don't like coming up with reels or carousel. But like, I feel like I don't know what to say. So, do you have any advice for me or anyone else out there who's in the same boat? How do we make it work for us?
I have advice for you specifically in this context that you just shared with me, because you are actually like, if I was a social media manager, which I'm not, but if I was, I would want to work with someone like you because you're already creating long form content. Is it in video form that's easily shareable to social media? No, but you've already done the thinking and the writing it takes to have all the content that you could probably ever need. So while it's fun sometimes for some people to create new content, someone like you who already has a content bank, you can just repurpose everything that you've already created into social media posts. You don't have an idea for a reel? Go back to a recent blog post and be like, okay, this paragraph is something that I could read out loud. And, I could talk about this subject on camera, and it doesn't have to be big. It could just be you on camera pressing the record button. And I'd say the biggest thing that my clients struggle with, who are like you, like they don't like to create content, is feeling like they are worthy of the time it takes to create it. So that is more of a mindset thing for people. It's more of I don't want to say a permanent stop, but it really does halt people from taking steps to start. There's a few ways people have gotten around that. One, creating a practice where they are pushing themselves to write and create more often. That can really help spark something. It doesn't have to stay forever, but you could try joining a challenge, teaming up with a couple of friends to co-create content or to check out each other's content while you're doing it. Try to make it more interactive and engaging for yourself, more so than other people can put a nice new spin on the content creation process. But also don't feel like you have to start from scratch. There are so many places where you could go and get a template. I mean, Canva has graphic design templates, but also there are business coaches out there and amazing people who have created social media templates, things that can help prompt your writing, that could help create a space of creativity for you. And that's something that I've been experimenting with this year. So last year I took basically the entire year off from consistent social media posts. I was like, if I'm going to create for social media, it's only going to be because I want it to be. I'm only going to do it when I feel like I have a spark or where I have creativity or I want to share. I'm not going to be beholden as a business person that I have to constantly create new social media posts in order to get clients. That wasn't true for me at the time when I started, but what I was experiencing with my clients was that they did not want to be on social media in ways that required more time. Like they couldn't post and have something go viral. They don't have time to respond to the comments. And so I needed to think about social media in a new way that didn't have to do with consistency. Letting go of some of that feeling like you need to post on a regular basis can also open you up to being more creative. So there isn't really a right answer for everyone, but with someone like you who already has a lot of content created, being okay with repurposing instead of creating new content when you're having that, like, I'm not sure what to post kind of block, that is a really great way to get around it.
That's such a great suggestion, which I'm going to use. I've been working on using it's called Minvo. It's like one of those AI video tools that you can upload a podcast episode and then it will cut it up into clips.
Oh, cool.
So I've been working on getting into that practice of where, just instead of me creating new videos, I just pull those those juicy quotes from the podcast episodes, and either from my guest or from me. And reuse that as a reel or a post or something. So keep your eye out, because after this airs, I will include some of these fantastic quotes from you.
I love it.
But I also love that you said that about going back to an old blog post, and just like, if I could pull 3 to 5 key quotes from an old post and then just put them into a Canva template and then schedule them out. I think that's the key, is blocking the time, taking 2 hours, making, 5 to 7 posts or however many I can crank out in that time, and scheduling them, and then it's done with, and so, yeah.
Yeah. And if you're
painful.
listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do video or like carousels, even, like, I'm not going to create a Canva template. That's okay. Like, you can do text only posts. Most of my clients are text only posts, and just pulling text from your blog post, maybe changing a couple of things or putting a frame around it, adding a story to it. There's so many things you could do to adapt that, but also you could just copy and paste.
That's great. Thank you so much. Well, this, as I said, this has been awesome. Maybe we'll have to have you back to talk about social media too.
Oh yeah, that would be fun.
But in the meantime, if anybody would like to work with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, visit my website, theacademicdesigner.com. You can learn about my services there, read testimonials, but also find so many resources if you're someone who wants to do it yourself. So, yeah.
Thanks so much, Jennifer. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I'm so happy that I could come on your podcast.
If you're unhappy in academia and you think you might be a good editor or writing coach, check out my course, Becoming an Academic Editor. This digital course is paired with a 12-week group coaching program to support you through your decision to leave academia or not, and to start building a profitable and rewarding academic editing business. Learn more by going to acadiaediting.com/become an editor. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time.